Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for coming out on Family Day, a day that we should all be with our families, but instead we're fighting for our families. A little bit ironic. Now, that being said, I'd actually like to start off by recognizing the board members of the Riley Park Hillcrest Community Center Association. So, Jamie Takor right here, local resident, founding father. Todd Constant, our treasurer. Jeff Knatzer at the back. He's the wizard doing the PowerPoint. Craig Bouvier by the door. And Steve Ma, also by the door. Nick Despotakis, VP, I won't say which school, Nick. Ken Charco, you can thank Ken for all the popcorn. And our youngest member at 25, Eli Zabar. Eli. And all the snacks, food, and coffee, we can thank Mary Ann Delphin, who did an amazing job organizing that for the guests coming out today. So, Mary Ann, she's not doing it. Did I miss somebody? I missed Amber. Amber Logie is also on the board. And have I missed anyone, Jamie? I know Mary Ann with Guy. I think that's it. Okay, I'm sorry if I forgot someone. Okay, so let's start the presentation now. Jamie? So, in our brief history, the Riley Park Hillcrest Community Center Association was formed back in 1965. A year basically after the center was formed. And this was back at the old site across the street. We had originally, Percy Norman had built the pool, and afterwards the ice rink and the arena were built. And to fill in the gap in between, they created a community center. And, sorry. Oh, okay. Directions. I thought I only got those at home. So annually, the RPHCA invests on average about $75,000 annually into programming and equipment, or about $750,000 over the last 10 years. Small drop in the bucket, you might think, right? But not the case. The board itself contributes approximately 3,000, this is a very conservative estimate, 3,000 volunteer hours annually by the board and committee members. And to really think about this, you have to understand that everybody on the board is pretty much a professional of some type, be it accounting services, implementation experts, securities experts, but you've got so much expertise on that board, and they're all contributing it for free. And that's one issue I always have, is how do you compete with free, especially at that level? So lastly, the center operated by the RPHCA is operating in partnership with the Parks Board. So we're in collaboration, and this partnership goes all the way back to the very beginning. And this is the same system across the entire city. All associations work in joint partnership with the Parks Board to provide the community services and needs and programming that the community is looking for. Next slide. Current operations. The Hillcrest Community Center has more than 7,000 members, and approximately in the last year, so the year ending July of 2012, we actually received our 2.7 millionth visit to the Hillcrest Community Center. Pretty outstanding and staggering, isn't it? Because in a sense, we're almost a victim of our own success, which is probably why a lot of you couldn't find parking. Revenues generated from the programs and rentals are reinvested directly into our community-based programs, and the desires, needs, and feedback from the community that we get. So be it a festival in the summer, a seniors program, a youth program, whatever the case may be, the association is here to provide those needs and services that otherwise would not or may not take place. Last year, $127,000 was received in grants. $180,000 was spent on grant-related programs. So we actually spent far above what we actually received in grant monies to service the community and bring those programs in at a subsidized cost. And that's something to really consider when Parks Board is saying, don't worry, we'll centralize everything and nothing will change. Surveys of the members and residents show a very extremely high satisfaction and strong support for the current level of services and programs being delivered by associations. Not only here, but across the city. And that's something to also understand, is that if this system had not been working for 40 years, 40 plus years, you would never have seen an 87% approval of keeping the system the way it is on CKNW or News Poll, or the 90% on the Vancouver Courier site. So the management model has been hugely successful and has a track record of being successful. Jimmy? Now we move on to the next slide. And I'm going to hand it over to Jamie here. And go ahead, or do you want to? Okay. What we've lost.
So, many of you may remember the old Riley Park building that was just down over there across from James and 30th. In the move to Hillcrest, there was a number of things that were lost. Dedicated senior space, seniors breakfast and lunch programs. And this is some programs that were lost almost exclusively, that were used almost exclusively by members of this community. We lost a 30% reduction in seniors programs, and overall we have smaller programming rooms. And some examples of this, having smaller programming rooms and smaller space compared to the old Riley Park, is I was talking to a bunch of friends on Sunday, and I myself have 2 kids. I go to programs at Douglas Park, at Sunset, and somewhat at Hillcrest because I can't find the space to sign my kids up for the programs that are in my community. I live right across the street, a house right over there if you go there, and I can walk here, but I have to drive off to Sunset and Douglas Park. So with smaller rooms, we have problems. Friends of mine had daughters that were in ballet. One daughter got into the ballet program here, the other one goes to a dance program at Sunset. Because of the smaller space and the fact that they live in the community, they can't go to the community center that's across the street from them. We lost 4 kitchens and 1 commercial kitchen. That's vastly impacted some of the programs and services that we provide here. Clearly, we've received requests now to provide more chefing dishes and that sort of thing, to provide more capacity for food, especially for Chinese New Year and food programs like that. Simply because we have 1 small sink, 1 small fridge, and 1 small stove. We lost dedicated art space for pottery, dance, and martial arts. And the preschool, although is the same number of children, is a smaller space. And I'm not sure it was in the best interest for the kids. In terms of providing services, we are able to provide less subsidies for people who need it. Less subsidies for seniors, less subsidies for children, less subsidies for youth and teens. Because we don't have 100% of the vending machine revenue that was at Riley Park, when we moved to Hillcrest, that was lost. We lost 100% of the cafe revenue. We lost parking space revenue from the Vancouver Canadians when they parked here on game days. That's $7 per car. That was lost. And that leaves us with less ability to subsidize the programs that we could subsidize for this community. We lost the Community Association office. The music room that's currently called the music room is the size of a closet. It can't even be used as a Community Association office, and currently has not been used for much programming at all. And finally, we lost the input into the facility use and expansion. There were many plans for this building, and they're all publicly available if you go on the internet. And you can see as they were edited, there was more consultation to the previous board when the original plans were there. As the plans got changed and less space was going to be available, less consultation was provided, to the point where the board was just notified that these changes needed to be made because of the Olympics, and we had to move forward with it. And a lot of that is about the consultation that the board had with the Parks Board and lost.
Gentlemen, I appreciate your coming out today. I feel very passionate about community centers. I feel that they are really the basis of our community and basis of our city that makes our Parks and Recreation and Community Center system the envy of the world. And it truly is the envy of the world. And why is it the envy of the world? Very simple reason, because we've had a strong and independent park board who stood up to City Hall if they were against something the park board wanted to do, who stood up and spoke for the citizens and helped create the community center system. The community center system was developed over the history of Vancouver. Started with a few communities having community halls that were used for public events and for social purposes, wedding receptions, parties, etc. And then in the early 40s, late 30s, early 40s, some of the communities like Kerrisdale and Killarney and others formed community associations. And after the war, there was a great strong movement to create a recreation component of what was this loose group of community centers. The people themselves created the community associations. It wasn't somebody said, everybody's going to have a community association. It was people who lived in Vancouver, who liked their communities, who wanted to do something to help it grow, and to help the people in the community to grow, both, you know, entertainment-wise, physically-wise, recreation, etc. After the war, the city decided that if people wanted a community center, they would have to, first of all, raise money, which many communities did. Then they would have to have a referendum. Now, a referendum was held on the feeder community to that area, around what would be the community center, whether it was Kerrisdale or Killarney or Hastings or wherever. And the people had to go out and convince their fellow voters in that feeder area to vote for the special referendum, which put a special tax on their property that was there for 20 years, that they paid for over and above the regular tax bill. So essentially, communities own the community centers. They put up the money. Then the city put up some money after the original money was put up. That ended in 1972 for the simple reason that the West End could never get a community center because there were so many non-owners who voted. Tenants couldn't vote in those days on money bills. And so therefore the owners were absentee, and so therefore they didn't want their taxes going up, so the city changed the policy. But every community center was built by contributions from individuals working to raise the money, etc. Currently, you know, we have 24 community centers, 9 indoor pools, 8 ice rinks, 4 outdoor pools, 3 golf rinks, and we just happen to have a couple of civic marinas. The CCs have been successful because they're community driven. Every community center has contrary to what Vision may say, every community center has a base that they start with. That the money is doled out on the basis of how many people are in the feeder area, what their special needs are, and if they have, you know, a large population that doesn't speak English, they might get some more money for that. Other centers get other grants from various levels of government to provide social services that may not be needed at other centers. But the centers are successful. Why are we tinkering with what's going on? It seems absolutely absurd to me, but that's my opinion. I really shouldn't give my opinion. But I just do want to say that the citizens of Vancouver own the community centers, not the bureaucrats at City Hall or the bureaucrats at the Park Board. Thank you.